Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a musical genre that, let's be honest, a lot of people just write off as noise. But what if I told you that hidden inside some of the most intense, extreme music out there is a level of poetry and storytelling that's actually, well, kind of brilliant? I mean, when you hear something like symphonic black metal for the first time, with those high-pitched, shrieked vocals and walls of distorted guitars, it's a totally fair question to ask. Your first reaction is probably, what is this? But what if, just underneath that really harsh surface, there are lyrics with incredible craftsmanship, a story that's super compelling? What if all that chaos is actually the whole point? Okay, let's get into it. To really explore this idea, we're going to look at an album called Where the Corpses Sink Forever by the Dutch band Carach Angren. And trust me, these guys are absolute masters of a genre that is just fascinating and, frankly, full of contradictions. Just look at the name of the genre itself, symphonic black metal. It feels like a total paradox, right? It's this deliberate collision of two completely different worlds. You've got the beautiful and the brutal. And on paper, they just shouldn't work together. And this is really the core conflict of the whole genre. On one side, you have these classical elements, orchestration, a sense of grandeur. And on the other, you've got pure chaos, the shrieked vocals, that constant, heavy sense of dread. The real power of the genre comes from the friction between those two things. It creates this musical language that's just perfectly suited for telling stories about the horrors of war, where any moment of beauty or humanity gets violently crushed by just overwhelming chaos. And this is exactly what Carach Angren does. Every single album they put out is a concept album. It tells one unified story from the first track to the last. They're kind of like horror novelists, but instead of books, their medium is symphonic metal. And this album in particular, it's all about the grim theater of war. So yeah, this album tells a really grim story, and it's all framed by one single, terrifying event that ends up unleashing 7 distinct nightmares. The whole premise is just terrifying. So the narrator of the album is a soldier, and he's ordered to execute 7 prisoners. But get this, his bullets do nothing. Instead of dying, the prisoners just grin at him. And then, one by one, they force a horrifying vision of war directly into his soul. So right there, the stage is set. You've got 7 prisoners. That means 7 visions, 7 self-contained little stories, and each one is a different nightmare pulled straight from the trenches. Okay, so let's actually dig into a couple of these stories to see just how detailed and, well, how devastating this kind of storytelling can really be. This first vision we're going to look at is just completely bleak. It's the story of a soldier who is so broken by everything he's seen that his only goal left, his one fervent wish, is to die. But here's the thing. The universe in this album is just cruel. Every time he tries to end his life, something stops him. In this case, he tries to hang himself, but a farmer finds him and rescues him, literally forcing him back into the life he is so desperate to escape. And his ultimate fate? It's like a twisted, sick joke. He eventually gets shot in battle, but he doesn't get the release of death. Nope. Instead, he's left completely paralyzed. He's trapped in his own body and his own personal hell for 2 long years. And the music in this part is just relentless and suffocating, mirroring his torment perfectly. But then you get a story that's the total opposite. Another vision introduces us to a soldier who's a creator of beauty. He's a violinist, and his music is this rare little bit of comfort and humanity for his friends in the middle of all the carnage. But he just watches in despair as the sounds of the battlefield, the gunfire, the explosions, they just constantly drown out his music. War is literally silencing his art. The instrument of peace is being silenced by the instrument of war. So in this final act of just beautiful, desperate defiance, he commits what the lyrics call a symphonic suicide. He just walks straight into the firefight, playing his masterpiece on the violin. And this is where it all clicks. For one brief, totally surreal moment, his art actually transcends the war. The fighting on both sides just stops. And it creates this beautiful, silent intro to his own death. This is where that symphonic part of the music isn't just background noise, it becomes the story. It's this fragile little melody that you know is about to be completely obliterated when the fury of the black metal comes crashing back in. And the album doesn't give you any escape. At the very end, the narrator finds himself right back where he started, facing those same 7 grinning prisoners. He's trapped in an endless loop, and the final lines tell us that these horrible stories, this ominous recording, are all that's left of him.
So why does an album like this even matter? Especially if you're not a fan of extreme metal. What's the big takeaway here?
Well, I think it's a really powerful reminder that sometimes the most profound art, the stories that really affect us, they don't always come from comfortable places. Sometimes they come from the absolute darkest parts of human experience, wrapped up in the most challenging packages.
Really, it's a challenge to all of us to look past the surface, not just in music, but in everything. To listen a little closer, to maybe push past our first reactions and just ask ourselves, what other masterpieces are we missing out on just because they're hidden behind a wall of sound?